Hi, I'm Patricia Allingham Carlson. I'm showing you an end-to-end series of my painting of creating the Stairway at Buttermilk Falls. This is episode 2. In this episode, I am adding more structure, refining, shading, and adding forms. Please give it a thumbs up if you like it, and subscribe to see more. Now let's paint. So I've established the structure of my composition, and now I'm starting to refine some of the parts. I'm coming in with some good strong darks, most likely a mixture again of indigo and Van Dyke brown. I'm putting some definition into the stairs as well as into the slopes. So everything is getting some nice strong accent shadows. Moving over to the stairs, I'm defining some of the edges by putting in some distant green treetops. Painting right up next to the stairs, this will offset the light spots with a different color and break it up and make things look very natural. When you work like this, wet on wet with plastic wrap to create texture, you get a lot of odd forms that you don't intend. So I'll be working around these forms that go further than what I wanted and trying to incorporate them into the composition and make them pieces of trees and foliage and different things like that. Establishing the back line that goes up against the rocky cliff. I had made it a little too high, so I'm bringing it down lower. Coming in with a good strong dark and getting rid of the line that I previously created that was not quite right. In working on these slopes, it's much different than working on the stairs. The stairs are a very well-defined structure, and slopes are just big blobby messes of leaves, dirt, rocks that all structure right on up the hill. To try to give the slope some definition, I'm breaking it into sections. Each section will have a slightly lighter area on the top of it, and will shade down to a darker area at the bottom. And this helps to define the pieces of the slope and make it more interesting than one solid mass, because slopes do have a structure, especially when they're based on a rocky cliffside like this. The rocks give it a structure, like the bones or backbones of the earth. As I'm working into this cliffside, I'm making lots of stroke work and not a lot of blending because I want to show a rugged texture. The lighter golden colors are showing where sunlight might be hitting and dappling over the forest floor. I'm planning to leave a lot of the whites that are in the painting. Whites add a freshness that you can't get in any other way, including with gouache. Coming in again with the gouache, I'm trying to pull out the cliff form directionality. Now this cliff was formed in layers and then it went into a big change where it was forced upward in a diagonal formation. Conveying rocks realistically takes a lot of practice because they have very strong darks and very strong lights, and they also have structure. So I define the lights, I make the deep crevices and cracks, and I try to follow the geological design just as closely as I can. Here I'm looking very closely at my reference photograph. I'm trying to pull out the layers that go in such a strong diagonal form. I'm adding greens around the edge of the cliff to try to establish the cliffside a little bit more prominently. Here I'm also working with some of these odd blobs of paint that formed on the sides of where I wanted a tree to be. I have two choices. I can either cover them up with some more white gouache, or I can try to add some more greens and other colors and incorporate them into being foliage and not just blobs. So there's a lot of work to do with that. But if you keep your stroke work in your tree foliage random, I think you can work with it. You could spread it around and you could make it look fairly natural. You'll see this more and more as I develop this picture because there's so many odd blobs coming off of the trees. Adding strong shadows to the cliffside now. I'm painting around the forms that are going to be trees further up the slope. We're starting to see the structure of the cliffs and the layers. So I'm getting more satisfied with how it's looking at this point. At the same time, I don't want to overdo it. It is a background cliff, and I'd rather suggest the formation than spell it out. You'll see as the colors get closer to the front of the painting, they get a lot more clear and crisp, have a lot more punch, and my lines are a lot cleaner. Moving back further into the plane, I want them to be more blurry and subdued, just because they are background and not nearly as prominent as what's in the foreground. So you'll notice I'm blending a lot. Coming into some of the blobs, deciding what they could be, perhaps a rock here. And so I'm shading it heavily on the one side that would be opposite the sunlight in order to make a formation rock type of thing. At the same time, it shows off the trunk of the tree, which is much lighter, and this helps establish the structure of the tree. darkening the forest part backward of the slope. And in doing so, again, you could see these trees start to emerge. With the light source, I'm trying to keep the left side of the trees much lighter and the right side much darker. Going back to the palette I had planned in the beginning, based on a children's drawing, bringing in lots of turquoise and lots of burnt sienna and orange. The way those colors work together tends to make me feel quite pleased and satisfied, so I do tend to use them a lot. And there we go with highlighting. I'm bringing the sky out between the trees with my gouache. Many little broken dots can show the foliage and the formation of the tree leaves. At this point, I took a look at the picture and said it needs more orange. And so there I go. I'm using a mixture of vermilion and cadmium orange. And I'm using them quite brilliantly and concentrated. One of the reasons I was thinking about this particular choice for colors was to integrate the different sides of the painting. If you'll notice, on the right hand side, my colors are much warmer in temperature. And as we get over to the stairs, the whole temperature cools down. In bringing the oranges into this tree, I'm bringing some warmth over and integrating them into the left side and the middle side of the painting. So it flows together and pleases the eye again with color. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. For more videos like this, subscribe to my channel. Your comments are always welcome as well. Click on the link if you'd like to see my next video or one recommended by YouTube. And there's more links in my description page below. See you next painting.